Okay, hello students. So today I'd like to talk to you about Destiny Quest. It's a great resource that I think a lot of students may or may not know all of the options that are available. So today we're going to start by actually looking at the option of beginning a search for your What to Read Next book by going to the Destiny Quest and to the find bar and type in your favorite genre. So for example, today we'll type in historical fiction, which is one of my favorite genres. As soon as you type that in, you'll notice that there are 481 resources available to you. That's books and ebooks. If you hit go, it will load all 481 of those titles, and immediately you can see which books are in and maybe which books are out on other pages. But before we go any further, we want to narrow our search. So there are several ways to do that. One way to narrow our search is to look at the author. Perhaps you have a favorite author. And so as I check authors and I scroll down, I'm very interested in historical fiction for Anne Frank. So perhaps I would check one of the two titles for Anne Frank. Let's take a look. Then I go and I see, okay, we do have two titles. One is The Search and one is The Family Secret, but right now they're out. So I'm going to go back in my search of historical fiction, and perhaps I won't choose a favorite author this time. Let's talk about subject. So now under historical fiction, I have some subject choices. Do I want adoption, adventure, Africa? Am I interested in pilots or Alaska? And it will go through aliens and different historical fiction titles that will narrow my search. That's another way to narrow your search. We already have chosen our genre, historical fiction. Accelerated Reader is more for elementary schools, but we know our Lexile score, so let's look at Lexile. So we have 433 titles. As we move the Lexile bar, we'll see we have fewer titles. So if I want something that's a quick read at about 800 Lexile, I know that I have 144 titles. If I want something challenging in the thousands, I only have 3 titles, but let's find out what they are. Those 3 titles are Looking for Me, which is in, The Quilt, again it's in, and The House of Seven Gables. These are more challenging Lexiles in the particular genre. Now let's take a look at Looking for Me. As you open up that book, you will see a picture of the title of the cover. You will see some information with the Lexile right here at 1133. Very few information on awards or reviews for any of these book titles, I've noticed, and that might be something that's happening at the cataloguing section. But I can also see different books. If you like this particular book, here are some other options. I like that feature that Destiny Quest does for us. If I'm really interested in choosing this book, I can click Add to this list. It will then go in my list. I'm going to close out of here. I'm going to go into The Quilt. Again, it shows me on this page, it's Gary Paulsen, one of my favorite authors. It gives me a summary of the book. It tells me a little bit more information where the Lexile falls, some similar books that I can also research. I can add this book, but if I click on Shelf Browse, it will give me some other Gary Paulsen books that are on our shelves. If he becomes a favorite author, it will give you some other options. If you click on Title Peek, it will give you more information such as what the cover looks like, the summary, some author notes, some reviews, and then you can sometimes choose to read the first chapter. This particular book doesn't give you that option, but other books have. I'm going to close that without selecting it and look at The House of Seven Gables. It's in a classic range. Let's see if it'll allow us to look more at what we have here. It's loading, and again it will give us some more titles, some more options, and we can choose to add this to our list. I'm going to go back to Lexile and I'm going to change it back to undoing that particular search. So we can also look for series. If you're someone that enjoys reading a series and you like the historical fiction genre, you can choose series. It will then tell you in this particular range, in this genre, these are different books that come in a series. And for example, Chronicles of Ancient Darkness. And they're both there's Wolf Brother and Spirit Walker by the same author, book 1 and book 2. And if you're interested in book 1, you can even drag and drop it to your list. Let's go back again to our original search. We can look by ratings, by publication year. So if you're interested in whether or not you may want a book that was very recently published, you're an avid reader, for example, and you're like, okay, really want something that was published in the last couple of years, maybe the last 2 years. We still have 49 titles that were published in the last 2 years. Let's hit apply. And now we've narrowed our search. Again, we can look for books that are within that range. Format tells us it's a book or an ebook, and those are the only two that we really need to be concerned about. And so let's look at our ebooks. There are 4 options. We have Always Emily, a novel. We have The Bamboo Sword by Margie Prowse, and she's one of my absolute favourite authors as well, who also wrote Fly Girl. We Skyped her last year, and I'm very interested in the work that she is doing. So if I'm interested in this book, I'm going to drag and drop it to my titles. And so now I've done some work of deciding that I actually have 4 what to read next books. I go into my titles and I can choose to print these options. I can just choose to go find the book. This would be the ebook that I would then open up. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. I can find this under Fiction H on our shelves, under Fiction R, and under Fiction P. Remember, our books are organized by author's last name. Let's open up our ebook and open it. And we're going to log in. It'll take us to Macambia. And there is my book, Fly Girl. And it's taking a moment to load. Once it loads, I have my book, an ebook, something that Mrs. Scroggs always recommends you have an ebook with you at all times, as well as those lovely print books, and I can begin reading. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. I would love to help you, and always having that what to read next is a fantastic way to grow as a reader, to develop your reading skills, to improve your SRI, Scholastic Reading Lexile levels, and to just learn more about the world around us. So again, we begin with the genre and then narrowing our search, dragging and dropping or adding those to my list, opening up my list and beginning to enjoy these fantastic options. Once we've read this particular book, I can click on it and remove it. Happy reading, everyone.